When you think about your dreams, your goals, your future, one thing you will always realize is that language is the bridge that connects you to the world. And if there is one language today that can open more doors than anything else, it is English. But here is the truth. Most people waste years trying to learn it, and still they are afraid to speak. Why? Because they are waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect teacher, the perfect environment. Let me tell you something straight. There is no perfect time. There is only now. If you want to learn English fast, you must stop doubting yourself, stop worrying about mistakes, and start doing it right away. The faster you begin, the faster you grow. I know what many of you are thinking. You feel nervous, you feel shy, you feel like others will laugh at you if your English is broken. But let me tell you a secret. Nobody cares about your mistakes as much as you do. People respect courage, not perfection. People remember confidence, not grammar. If you wait until your English is perfect, you will wait for the rest of your life. But if you open your mouth and speak with whatever words you have today, you are already ahead of those who never try. That is how success comes, in life, in business, in language. It belongs to those who dare, not those who wait. Learning English is not about intelligence, it is about consistency. It is not about how many books you read, it is about how many times you practice. It is not about how fast you memorize vocabulary, it is about how boldly you use it. The world is full of resources, movies, songs, podcasts, articles, conversations, social media, all available for free. You do not need to be rich, you do not need to be in an English-speaking country, you do not need someone holding your hand every day. What you need is hunger. Hunger to improve, hunger to connect, hunger to step out of your comfort zone. Think about this. Every single day you waste worrying about mistakes is a day you could have been improving. Every single word you refuse to say is a word that could have built your confidence. Every single opportunity you ignore because of fear is an opportunity that will never return. You don't need to be perfect to start, but you need to start to become perfect. And the sooner you realize this, the sooner you will see that learning English fast is not about having a special talent. It is about having the courage to practice without fear. So today, I want you to make a choice. Will you keep waiting for the right moment, or will you create it? Will you keep hiding behind excuses, or will you step into growth? The world is waiting to hear your voice, but the question is, are you ready to speak? The very first step to learning English fast is simple but powerful. You must start now. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when you feel ready, right now. Too many people are stuck because they believe they need to prepare endlessly before they can begin. They say, I will start when my vocabulary is bigger. I will start when my grammar is better. I will start when I feel confident. But let me tell you something. If you wait for perfection, you will wait your whole life. There is no perfect starting point. The perfect time is always the moment you decide to begin. Think about how you learned your first language. You did not wait to learn grammar before speaking. As a child, you did not sit down with a dictionary. You simply listened, repeated, made mistakes, got corrected, and improved step by step. That's the natural process. Yet when it comes to English, people suddenly want to sound perfect from day one. They want to avoid mistakes. They want to avoid embarrassment. They want to impress others. But here's the truth. Your mistakes are not your enemy. They are your teacher. If you never start speaking because you're afraid of mistakes, you'll never give yourself the chance to learn. The first step is to break this mental barrier. Stop telling yourself, I'm not ready. You are ready the moment you start. Even if you know only 10 words, use those 10 words. Combine them, repeat them, play with them. The more you use what you know, the more your brain becomes comfortable with the language. The faster you start, the faster you will grow. Waiting only delays your success. Perfection is a trap. Many people want the perfect accent, the perfect sentence, the perfect vocabulary list before they open their mouth. But perfection is not what makes you learn. Action does. Imagine a child learning to walk. Does the child wait until they are sure they won't fall? No. They fall, they stumble, they cry, but they get back up again and again. That is how they become strong. Learning English is the same. You must be willing to stumble so you can eventually run. Starting immediately does not mean rushing. It means using whatever tools you have today. It means taking one step forward instead of standing still. Maybe today you can watch a short video in English and repeat a few lines. Maybe you can write a few sentences in a notebook. Maybe you can greet someone online with, "Hello, how are you?" These are small actions, but small actions create momentum, and momentum is what makes you unstoppable. You see, the biggest enemy of learning is not difficulty, it is procrastination. People tell themselves stories like, I don't have time, I don't have resources, I don't have confidence, but deep down, what they lack is not time or resources, it's courage. Courage to look foolish, courage to sound imperfect, courage to begin without knowing the outcome. Once you develop that courage, you will realize that English is not as difficult as you thought. It was only your fear holding you back. Every master was once a beginner. Every fluent speaker was once someone who didn't know a single word. The difference between those who succeed and those who fail is that successful people take the first step quickly, while others keep delaying. If you take that first step today, even if it feels small, you are already on the path. And the path is more important than the speed, because once you're on the path, progress is inevitable. Let me give you a simple example. Imagine you want to swim. You can watch videos of swimming, you can read books about swimming, you can listen to people talk about swimming, but unless you get into the water, you will never learn. The same rule applies to English. You can study vocabulary lists for months, you can memorize grammar rules, you can attend classes, but unless you actually use the language, unless you start today, you won't improve. Knowledge is useless without action. So, the very first step of learning English fast is to make a decision to start immediately, to stop worrying about what you don't know and begin using what you do know, because when you start, the fear reduces. When you start, confidence grows. When you start, improvement becomes natural. But if you wait for perfection, you will stay in the same place, watching others move ahead while you stand still. Take the first step now, no matter how small, because the first step is always the hardest. But it is also the most important. Once you begin, the road opens in front of you. The second step to learning English fast is this: speak first, correct later. If the first step was to start immediately, then the next step is to open your mouth and use the language, no matter how broken, no matter how imperfect. Too many people spend years studying English silently, reading grammar books, memorizing vocabulary lists, solving exercises, yet when the time comes to speak, they freeze. Why? Because they have trained their eyes and their brains, but not their tongue. Language is a tool for communication, not just knowledge. And the only way to make English your own is by speaking it. When you speak, something powerful happens. Your brain connects words with real emotion, with sound, with memory. You are not just learning rules, you are experiencing the language. Yes, in the beginning, you will make mistakes. Your sentences will be broken, your pronunciation may sound strange, your grammar may be wrong, but that is not failure, that is learning in progress. Every mistake you make is evidence that you are trying. Every incorrect word you speak is one step closer to speaking it correctly. If you avoid speaking because you are afraid of being wrong, you are robbing yourself of the fastest way to improve. Think about how children learn to talk. They don't say, I will wait until I know all the grammar rules before I speak. They just speak. Simple, incomplete, even funny sentences. But with every attempt, they get better. Parents don't expect perfection from a child, they encourage them to keep talking. In the same way, you must treat yourself as a learner. Don't punish yourself for mistakes. Don't hold yourself back until you feel perfect. Just speak, because when you speak, you are practicing the skill that matters most: communication. Some people say, but if I speak wrong, I will learn wrong. That is not true. Mistakes don't become permanent if you keep learning and correcting. In fact, mistakes are the reason you remember the right way later. For example, if you say, he go to school, someone may correct you and say, no, it's he goes to school. Because you tried and failed, that correction sticks in your memory. If you had never spoken, you would never have received the correction. So, mistakes are not dangerous. They are necessary. Fluency is not about being perfect. Fluency is about being confident enough to express yourself with the words you have. Over time, grammar and accuracy will follow naturally. But if you wait for accuracy before you start, you will never reach fluency. The best learners understand this secret. Confidence comes before correctness. You must dare to use the language first. The corrections will come later. Let me share something important. When you speak English, people do not judge you as much as you think. Most people admire your courage to speak a language that is not your own. They respect your effort. Even if your grammar is broken, your message still reaches them. And remember, the goal of language is not perfection, it is connection. As long as you are understood, you are succeeding. Over time, your words will become smoother, your grammar sharper, your pronunciation clearer, but none of this will happen if you never start speaking. So how do you apply this step? Very simple. Make speaking a daily habit. Even if it is only 5 minutes, talk in English. Speak to your friends, your family, or even to yourself in the mirror. Record your voice, listen to it, and improve. Don't wait for opportunities. Create them. If you don't have a speaking partner, read a book out loud. If you watch a movie, repeat the dialogues. If you hear a new word, use it in a sentence immediately. Your goal is not to be correct every time. Your goal is to train your brain and tongue to move together in English. Remember this, English is not learned by silence. It is learned by sound. If you don't open your mouth, your progress will always be slow. But the moment you begin speaking, even imperfectly, your learning speed multiplies. Speaking is the practice that transforms knowledge into skill. Without it, you are only collecting information. With it, you are becoming a communicator. So the second step is clear. Speak first. Correct later. Don't let fear silence you. Don't let mistakes scare you. The more you speak, the more confident you become. And the more confident you become, the faster you learn. The third step to learning English fast is to make it a daily habit. If the first step is to start immediately, and the second step is to speak without fear, then the third step is to build consistency. Because the truth is, learning English is not about how many hours you study in one day, it's about how many days you keep showing up. Consistency beats intensity. 10 minutes every day is more powerful than 5 hours once a week. Why? Because your brain learns best through repetition. Every time you come back to the language, you are strengthening the connections in your mind. And the more often you repeat, the stronger those connections become. Think about how you brush your teeth. You don't do it once a week for an hour. You do it every single day for a few minutes. That's why your teeth stay clean. Habits work the same way. If English becomes part of your daily routine, it becomes natural. It becomes effortless. You don't have to force yourself anymore because it becomes as normal as eating, walking, or sleeping. But if you treat English as something occasional, something you do only when you have free time, then you will always struggle. Success does not come from what you do sometimes. It comes from what you do every day. People often say, I don't have time, but the reality is, time is not the problem. Priorities are. You always have time for what you truly value. If you can spend hours scrolling on your phone, watching random videos, chatting without purpose, then you have time for English. The difference is that you have not yet decided to make it a priority. Once you make that decision, you will find the time. Even on your busiest day, you can give 10 minutes to practice. That's all it takes to keep your momentum alive. Daily habits don't have to be complicated. You don't need to study 50 new words every day. You don't need to finish a whole grammar chapter. Small steps are enough as long as they are consistent. For example, today you can read 1 page of a book. Tomorrow you can listen to a 5-minute podcast. The next day you can write a short paragraph. The important thing is not how much you do. It's that you don't break the chain. Every day, no matter what, you touch English in some way. When you do this for weeks, months, years, you will be shocked at how much you grow. Let me give you an example. Imagine you want to get fit. If you go to the gym once for 5 hours, you will feel tired, but you will not become strong. But if you go every day for just 30 minutes, after a few months, your body will completely transform. That's the power of consistency. The same principle applies to English. You don't need a marathon of study, you need a routine. It's not about doing everything in one day, it's about doing something every day. The secret to success in language is exposure. The more often your brain is exposed to English, the faster it will adapt. Think of your brain like a sponge. If you dip it in water once in a while, it dries out quickly. But if you keep it in water every day, it stays soaked. When you touch English daily, your brain stays soaked in the language. Words start to stick, phrases start to flow, and speaking becomes natural. So ask yourself, how can you build English into your lifestyle? You can change your phone language to English. You can follow social media accounts in English. You can listen to songs and try to understand the lyrics. You can make a rule to think in English for 5 minutes every morning. These are not big sacrifices. They are small adjustments, but over time, they rewire your brain. Slowly, English stops feeling like a subject you study and starts feeling like a part of your life. That's when real progress happens. Daily habits are powerful because they compound. One word today, one sentence tomorrow, one conversation next week. After 1 year, you will look back and realize how far you've come. Most people fail, not because they are not smart, but because they are not consistent. They start with excitement, then give up after a few days. But winners are those who keep going even when it feels small, even when it feels slow, even when it feels boring, because they understand that small efforts multiplied daily become extraordinary results. So the third step is simple. Make English your daily habit. Don't let a single day pass without practicing in some way. It doesn't matter how small it is. What matters is that you never stop. The fourth step to learning English fast is to use the world as your teacher. If the first step is to start now, the second is to speak without fear, and the third is to build daily habits, then the fourth step is to realize this. You don't need a classroom, you don't need a formal teacher, and you don't need expensive courses. The world around you is already full of lessons, full of opportunities, full of teachers, if only you are willing to see them. The biggest mistake many learners make is thinking English can only be learned inside a school or through a textbook. They wait for someone to guide them, someone to explain rules, someone to correct them. But the truth is, the best teachers are everywhere around you. Movies, songs, books, podcasts, articles, conversations, even advertisements. These are all free lessons waiting for you. The world is speaking English all the time. The question is, are you listening? When I was young, I didn't have access to great schools or private tutors, but I had a burning desire to learn. So I looked around me. I started listening to English radio. I read newspapers, even if I didn't understand every word. I listened to tourists, copied their accents, repeated their sentences. I didn't wait for the perfect environment. I created my own environment from whatever was available. That's how real learning happens. When you use the world as your classroom, you never run out of opportunities to grow. Think about this. If you watch a movie in English, that's a lesson. If you listen to a song and try to sing along, that's a lesson. If you scroll on social media and read posts in English, that's a lesson. If you hear a foreigner talking and you pay attention to their words, that's a lesson. The world is constantly teaching you, but you must be alert. You must be hungry. You must be willing to learn from every source. The beauty of using the world as your teacher is that it makes learning natural. You're not just memorizing words. You're seeing them in action, in real conversations, in real emotions. For example, when you watch a movie, you don't just hear grammar, you feel the language. You hear how people joke, how they argue, how they express love, how they express anger. That experience is far more powerful than reading a grammar rule in a book. Books give you knowledge, but the world gives you life. And language is life. It must be lived, not just studied. Another advantage is variety. A single teacher can only give you one style, one accent, one way of speaking. But the world gives you everything. British English, American English, Australian English, formal English, casual English. You get to hear it all. And when your ears adapt to different voices, your confidence grows. You are no longer afraid of accents because you've trained yourself through exposure. Now, some people will say, but I don't understand everything when I watch movies or listen to podcasts. That's okay. You don't need to understand 100%. Even if you understand 30%, that's progress. Over time, your brain starts catching more and more. It's like being in a gym. At first, the weights feel too heavy, but if you keep lifting, your muscles grow. At first, English sounds too fast, too difficult, too confusing. But if you keep listening, your brain grows stronger. Slowly, what once felt impossible becomes natural. Using the world as your teacher also removes excuses. You can't say, I have no teacher. The world is your teacher. You can't say, I don't have resources. The internet is full of free resources. You can't say, I don't live in an English-speaking country. That doesn't matter. The digital world connects you to English speakers everywhere. The only real barrier is your willingness. If you want it badly enough, you can learn from everything and everyone around you. So, I want you to change the way you see English. Don't see it as a subject you only study in class. See it as a living language that is everywhere. On your phone, in your music, in your entertainment, in your conversations. Every moment can be practice if you choose to see it that way. The world is already your classroom, but you must decide to attend it every single day. The fifth step to learning English fast is to turn fear into fuel. If the first step is to start now, the second is to speak first and correct later. The third is to make English a daily habit, and the fourth is to use the world as your teacher. Then the fifth step is to face the biggest enemy of all, fear. Fear is the reason most people never reach fluency. Fear of embarrassment, fear of mistakes, fear of being laughed at, fear of not being good enough. But here is the truth. Fear is not something to run away from. It is something to use. The very thing that makes you afraid can become the energy that pushes you forward. Think about it. Why are you afraid? Because you care. You care about how you sound. You care about whether others will understand you. You care about whether you will fail. This shows you want to succeed. Fear is not weakness. It is a signal. It means you are stepping out of your comfort zone. And that is exactly where growth happens. Nobody improves inside comfort. You improve only when you push yourself into uncomfortable places. Fear is simply proof that you are moving in the right direction. But the problem is, most people let fear stop them. They stay silent in class, they avoid conversations, they refuse opportunities. They think, what if I make a mistake? But let me ask you, what if you don't try? What if you never speak? Isn't that a bigger mistake? You see, mistakes will hurt for a moment, but regret will hurt forever. And when you let fear silence you, you are choosing regret. The fastest learners are not the smartest ones, not the richest ones, not the most educated ones. They are the ones who are brave enough to look foolish. They are willing to be laughed at. They are willing to make 100 mistakes a day because they understand that every mistake is not failure, it is feedback. And feedback is what makes you stronger. If someone corrects you, you learn. If someone laughs, you grow thicker skin. If you get embarrassed, you become more resilient. Slowly, your fear becomes smaller and your confidence becomes bigger. I remember when I first tried speaking English, my voice was shaking. I was nervous. I was embarrassed. I knew my words were broken, but I told myself, if I don't face this fear now, I will never overcome it. And the more I spoke, the less power fear had over me. This is the secret. Fear doesn't disappear by waiting. It disappears by facing it. The more you face it, the weaker it becomes. So instead of avoiding fear, embrace it. When you feel nervous before speaking, smile and say, this is a chance to grow. When your hands shake, remember, it means you are doing something important. When you feel embarrassed, remind yourself, this is how confidence is built. Fear is like fire. If you run from it, it burns you. But if you use it, it gives you energy. It gives you power. It gives you light. Here's a practical way to turn fear into fuel. Challenge yourself every day to do one small thing in English that makes you uncomfortable. Speak to a stranger. Ask a question in class. Post a short video online. Join a conversation even if you feel shy. Each time you do this, your fear will shrink and your courage will grow. Confidence is not something you wait for. It is something you build by taking action despite fear. Remember, the people who laugh at your mistakes are not ahead of you. They are behind you because you are the one daring to grow. Every time you open your mouth in English, you are moving forward. Every time you stay silent because of fear, you are standing still. The choice is yours. So, the fifth step is clear. Don't let fear hold you back. Use it. Let your fear remind you that you are on the edge of growth. Let it push you to take action. Because once you learn to turn fear into fuel, nothing can stop your progress. The sixth step to learning English fast is to connect emotion with language. If the first step is to start now, the second is to speak first and correct later, the third is to make English a daily habit, the fourth is to use the world as your teacher, and the fifth is to turn fear into fuel, then the sixth step is this. Don't just learn English with your head, learn it with your heart. Because language is not only about rules and grammar, it is about feelings, about expression, about connection. When you put your emotions into the language, you remember faster, you speak with more confidence, and you learn in a way that feels natural. Think about the words in your own language. The words you remember best are the ones connected to your strongest emotions, your happiest moments, your biggest challenges, your deepest memories. Language is not just sound, it is meaning. If you study English only as a subject, it will always feel difficult, boring, and mechanical. But if you connect it to your real life, to your dreams, to your emotions, it becomes alive. That is the secret to making English stick. Not memorization, but personalization. For example, when you learn a new word, Don't just write it in a notebook and forget it. Use it to describe something that matters to you. If you learn the word hope, connect it to your own hope. Your hope for your family, your career, your future. If you learn the word challenge, connect it to a challenge you are facing right now. When you do this, the word is no longer just an English term. It becomes part of your own story, and your brain will never forget it because it is tied to emotion. Music is another powerful way to connect emotions with English. When you sing a song, you are not just practicing words, you are feeling them. The melody, the rhythm, the emotion of the lyrics, they all work together to make the language flow into your memory. That is why many people remember English songs better than English lessons, because songs touch the heart, not just the mind. If you want to learn faster, sing. Don't worry about how your voice sounds. Worry about how the words feel. The same is true with movies. When you watch a powerful scene, when you laugh, when you cry, when you feel inspired, that emotional moment burns the English into your memory. You don't just hear the words, you experience them. That is why a single movie can sometimes teach you more than weeks of study, because when your heart is engaged, your brain follows. Another way to connect emotions with language is through storytelling. Instead of practicing random sentences, tell stories about your life in English. Talk about your childhood, your struggles, your dreams. Share how you feel about something important to you. When you tell a story, you are not just practicing grammar, you are building a bridge between your world and the English language. And because the story is yours, the words will never leave you. Emotion also builds confidence. Imagine standing in front of people and saying, "My dream is to help my parents live a better life." Even if your grammar is not perfect, people will listen because they feel your passion. Confidence does not come from knowing every rule, it comes from speaking with heart. When your message matters to you, you stop worrying about mistakes. You speak with power, with authenticity, with truth. And that is when people really connect with you. The mistake many learners make is trying to keep emotion out of the process. They focus only on rules, only on structure, only on correctness. But that makes English dry and lifeless. Language was never created to be perfect. It was created to connect humans. And connection is built through feelings. The more you allow yourself to feel the language, the more natural it will become. So don't be afraid to laugh when you use English. Don't be afraid to cry when you hear powerful words. Don't be afraid to share your dreams, your fears, your passions through English. Because when you attach emotion to language, it becomes yours. And once it becomes yours, you will never forget it. The sixth step is simple but transformative. Connect emotion with English. Don't learn with your mind alone. Learn with your heart, because when the heart is involved, learning is no longer a task. It becomes a journey, a joy, a part of who you are. My friends, learning English is not just about mastering a language. It is about unlocking opportunities, building confidence, and creating a future without limits. The steps are clear. First, you must start now, because waiting will only hold you back. Second, you must speak first and correct later, because confidence is born from action, not perfection. Third, you must build English into your daily habit, because consistency creates mastery. Fourth, you must use the world as your teacher, because knowledge is everywhere if you open your eyes. Fifth, you must turn fear into fuel, because fear is not your enemy, it is your power. And sixth, you must connect emotion with language, because words without feeling are empty, but words with passion become unforgettable. If you follow these steps, I promise you, English will not remain a dream, it will become your reality. But remember this, it's not about how fast others learn, it's about how committed you are to your journey. Don't compare, don't compete, just continue. Step by step, word by word, day by day, you will improve. And one day, without even realizing it, you will speak with the confidence you once thought was impossible. So stop waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is now. Stop fearing mistakes. Mistakes are your teachers. Stop doubting yourself. You are far more capable than you imagine. The world is waiting to hear your voice, and English is the key that will open those doors. Take these 6 steps and walk boldly toward your future. Because once you believe, once you act, once you commit, there is nothing that can stop you.